Welcome back. The topic for today is one thing to win. My brother and from another mother, Mr. Stephen Napolitan, actually shared this with me as an idea and a concept that he teaches to his clients. And he has found that focusing on one thing at a time creates the most abundance for himself in business and in life. And I'm going to share with you some stories and some real examples about how to make that happen. I know you're going to love today's show.
Cowboy.
Welcome to a daily dose of greatness class with your host, Trevor Crane, my daddy. He is going to help you take your life and business to the next level.
Here I come to save the day.
Trevor Crane here, 11-time #1 best-selling author and the founder of Epic Author Publishing, coming to you live every day so you can plug in every day to build your ideal business so you can live your ideal life.
If my daddy can do it, then anybody can do it because he's a weirdo.
You're supposed to make me sound cool.
All right, welcome back. As I said, today's show is about one thing to win, and I'll give a personal example about this. In the last few years, my wife and I have been focused on writing books. I shared with everybody, you probably have heard this before, that when I wrote my first book, it helped my wife and I 10x our income. I wrote a book and she wrote a book. She didn't really start writing a book until she saw that I was getting started, and then she beat me to the punch and she wrote a book first or something like that. And anyway, we wrote our books and we 10x'd our income. And then because I've been a business consultant helping people make money in their business, that's typically what they hired me for, was how to increase their revenue. I looked at it and I thought, gosh, if I 10x my income, maybe my clients could do this as well. So I started a little publishing company on the side because I like to share with people the results that work for me. Now, here's what I did. I also decided that because I was new to this area of publishing, I needed to build around myself a team to help me help you get your book done. So one of my second books, I think it was my second book, is called Your Epic Book Launch. And I wrote that book with a team of other authors and publishers who help people publish their books. So I partnered with social media experts. I partnered with other people in the publishing space, and we published a book with 22 other authors around helping you create your epic book launch. It's an amazing book. We tell all those stories in the book, and there's a massive amount of value there that you could get. Now, what I decided to do as well, since I wanted to build this hybrid publishing company to support you in getting your book done, I decided that I needed to publish a book in all the cool ways you can do it. So I turned a podcast into a book. I wrote some kids' books with my daughter. I really focused on creating. Now, what that did is I was able to write some books. I was able to publish some books. I was able to get some success both personally, and I felt good about myself and make a difference. That was great. And I was able to feel conviction that now I knew a lot of different ways to publish books, and I've now got 11 #1 best-selling books. Great bragging rights. But in that same period of time, my wife focused on one thing to win. And she built her own business around just working with women. And she wanted to work with women as that are financial advisors and service professionals and just a lot of different entrepreneurial types of women that are in service businesses. And as she focused on that, the first year, I think you've heard this from me before, she struggled and she only made $500 in her coaching practice. Not that awesome, nothing really to brag about there, but she was making progress. She was building the foundation of her business and her brand. And one of the first things she did was get her book done. And not only that, but we had a structure for her business so that as she got her book done, she could make some sales. So the following year, she made $150,000. Not bad. The year after that, when we improved her brand and when we improved the way that she was to broadcast her information to the world, she went ahead and with the same message, the same communication style, but now just doing a hell of a lot more of it. Like I mentioned, a broadcast, a blog, a podcast, a video. We partnered with Grant Cardone. We did all kinds of things. My wife made $500,000. So check that out. In 2 years, she went from $500 of income to $500,000 of income. One thing to win in that same period of time while I made decent money. my wife made more money than I did. I would love to go ahead and tell you and brag about it. And oftentimes I'll talk about this subject in such a way so that it sounds like I have made a lot more money than my wife in that capacity, and that would not be accurate. I just don't tell the story about exactly how much I have made at different times in my life. I have made millions of different things, but at that time I was not. Why was I not? Because oftentimes I was spending more of my energy creating the assets, creating the books, creating new funnels, working with new clients. My focus was on multiple things. In the same period of time, I helped my buddy, Steve Napolitan, publish his book. And he had known that I was writing my own book, and he and I had talked about his book 5 years before I had written mine. And then when I wrote my book and became a #1 bestseller, and so did my wife, and so did my daughter, and I started growing in this capacity, he said, Trevor, I know we're friends, but I think I need to hire you. Like, it was tough for him to kind of swallow his pride and hire a friend because he thought we're buddies. But he was like, you know what? He hires mentors in every area of his life. So he finally hired me. And so what we did is he was just coming back to rebuild his career. He'd made a business change in his life where he moved from California to Australia. And he went through a situation where he didn't lose everything, but he lost the entire business he had built. And so then he was building it back from scratch. And he approached me to help him with his book. And he said, Trevor, I'm doing better right now. I'm starting to grow things back. But the challenge is I want to write this book, and I know it's going to become a powerful tool in my marketing. But dude, I can't take away my time from my family. And his biggest concern was to get a great book done was going to take him a bunch of time. So I assured him that with my system and with our process and with my team that we could get it done really quickly. I made him a promise that it would take him, that our goal together would be to get his book done in less than 24 hours of his time. I was very skeptical. He didn't think this was a possibility for us to do. So I had him actually record videos of himself and keep time of the amount of time he was spending working on his book. And long story short, he got his book done. The actual content creation of his book took him less than 24 hours. He freaked out in the middle of it because he's like, dude, we got a deadline. How am I going to get this done? And he was kind of freaking out about it. And I just talked to him and I said, Steve, that's the old pattern that you've been using, that in order to create phenomenal results, everything is going to require your personal effort. And that's not this in this case. In fact, I have a text message copied our back and forth on a text message thing, and I put it in a case study because Steve became a #1 best-selling author in 3 different countries in a whole 22 different categories or something like that. He made more money just in the promotion of his book before it ever even came out than it cost him to do our program. A significant amount more. One of my favorite stories is about how somebody sent him a $5,000 check and just said, dude, I know with your new book coming out, you're going to be real busy. I just want to reserve some of your time. And sent him a check. Unsolicited. He just said, here's money. I want to reserve your space. So here's the thing. Steve is my friend that came up with this concept of one thing to win. At one point, Steve and I were working on a project together called Project Restaurant, and we were partnered with it. And he went ahead and said, Trev, I quit. I bail out. This is not my passion. We were building a TV show around it. We had a lot of cool new clients. We were helping a lot of people. And he said, brother, I'm out. Now, I'm going to share with you that he didn't do that with a conversation. He didn't do that with a text message. All of a sudden, just one day, he disappeared because he realized that he was spending time on something he didn't want to put his energy towards anymore. And he didn't even know, and he just didn't want to waste any more time on it. So he shut off everything else he was doing, including me. So I knew he was out when he just never responded to me anymore. Not the coolest, most elegant way to deal with it, but I get it. He apologized to me years later, or, maybe 6 months later, whatever it was, and said, dude, I just had to focus on taking care of my family, and I needed to bail. And what he did is he came up with this concept of one thing to win. In that same time that I've been growing my publishing company and doing a lot of other things in my business, building a lot of foundational things that I'm thrilled to have with my brand and with my daughter and with my family and a million things. My boy Steve has built a multiple $1-million business. He generates a significant amount of income, and he maintains a phenomenal quality of life where he doesn't always have to run around and work like his father worked when he grew up, where his father was never around for his family. And that was Steve's big fear. So he has 10x, I don't know if that's exactly accurate. He has a massive growth in his business because he focused on one thing to win. So here is my question for you today. And I'm going to give you a little insight into something you can do so that you can have more time and you can have more success. First of all, I said pick the one thing. So my challenge for you today is to pick what's the one thing. If you couldn't do anything else, what's the one thing that you could and should be focused on that will give you the biggest win? What's that one thing? Not 2 things, not 10 things. If you need to start with a list like that, that's fine, but I want you to narrow it down and then come up with what's the one thing that you need to focus on. And Steve and I wrote a book about this subject to a certain degree. It's called 1 Hour a Day to 6 Figures. I wrote this with my wife and with Steve. And we taught a course around this. We wrote a book around it, and we actually decided to put the content of the the course into the book in like a conversational way. So people get a lot of value from this book. If you want to get that book from me, you just got to reach out to Trevor Crane. Send an email to support@trevorcrane.com or reach out to me on social media and ask for it, and I can get you a copy of that for free if you just put the subject matter that I promised you to do that. All right, just put in the subject line, just say, hey, can I get a free copy of that book, 1 Hour a Day to 6 Figures, and I'll hook you up. Because that is the daily discipline that you can use to generate 6 figures. For example, if that's what you want to do. If you need to be in an income generating situation, then you might want that. All right, so what is the one thing that you should focus on? I don't know what it is for you, but I do remember I learned this from a marketing guy. His name was Mark Yarnell, and it was a formula of 7-3-2. So write this down. So I'm going to give you a little tip. This will help you give you more success and give you more time. 7-3-2. And what that means, I'm going to give you a 7-word sentence, a 3-word sentence, and a 2-word sentence to go ahead and just stay focused on. When I think of trying to be more effective and more efficient, I think of 7-3-2. And it's do one thing at a time. That's the 7-word sentence. Do one thing at a time. Do it right and finish it. Those are the 3 sentences. Do one thing at a time. Do it right. Finish it. And that's by Mark Yarnell. That's my quote for the day. Do one thing at a time, period. Do it right, period. Finish it, period. And I find myself getting overwhelmed, and I realize that I need to delete or delegate. So my next challenge to you today is to look at your life and discover, the only way for you to get more time is for you to do less stuff. So what in your life, if you look at everything, do you need to delete? Do you need to just stop doing and stop focusing on? Steve Napolitano stopped talking to me for one period of time. Not that he didn't like me. He just was like, dude, he couldn't focus on that business any longer, and he just bailed out. Was it the most elegant way for him to deal with it? No, but he did it. It's no big deal. Like, shit happens. It's not a big deal. What do you need to stop? What do you need to delete and just take off your to-do list? I have a goal for myself that I set every week and every month to look at my just to-do list and just take stuff off of it. What do you need to delete? And then what is it that you're doing that you should not be doing, that you should delegate to someone else? And basically, I would challenge you to look at everything. I was cooking dinner the other night, and I realized that after making dinner for my wife and family and then cleaning up afterwards, as much as I enjoyed it, it was a significant waste of my time. I looked at it, and it was over 3 hours for me to prepare a meal, eat a meal, and then clean up the meal. Okay, I'm a big slob, and maybe I'm really slow. But it's like 3 freaking hours? Like, I could do something so much better with that time. Why didn't I just order Uber Eats? We are entering, or we are in an economy where our most precious resource is our time. What do you need to delete, and what do you need to delegate to others? Another one of my mentors, Frank Kern, teaches this and has talked about it lately on social media. I haven't spoken with him personally about this, but it drives me insane because I know he's right. And every 7-figure business that he has helped scale in the last several years did so in one way. They did less. They did fewer things. So my tips for you today are 7-3-2, and what can you delete or delegate? And then just focus on what that one thing is that you can and should be doing and putting your energy to so that you can have more success and have more time. So let me see if I have anything else for you today. What's the one thing you should be focused on to give you the biggest bang for your buck? I think that's all I've got for you today. I'll tell you what. here's what I want you to do. I have a new 30-day challenge that is coming that I'm about to start. And this would be a great, and I'm about to start this publicly where you can join me with this. I've been teasing this on some of my podcasts here lately, but in the next few days, this is going to come out. So if you haven't yet downloaded my app, make sure you do that. And I'm sure that the little outro we have on the podcast here will remind you of it, but just text message my first name, which is Trevor, to the phone number 36260. That's 36260. Download my app and look for the 30-day challenge button or call to action on there, because I want to invite you to commit to a 30-day challenge so I can help you set and get any goal. If you haven't heard me talk about this yet, then I am publishing a new book this year about getting any goal, and I want to showcase new case studies and results that are inside there, which is why I'm giving you my new 30-day program. It comes with a free audiobook. You can get the t-shirt. I'm telling you, this is going to be badass, and I want you to join me. So make sure you do that, and then join me tomorrow on another Daily Dose of Greatness class. I can't wait to see you there, and make today magnificent.
To get even more awesomeness, which means all my best stuff, download my app by texting Trevor to 36260. It will show up right on your cell phone. Just text message the word Trevor to 36260. Talk to you soon.